networking as Whittier College students and soon to be, or not so soon to be, depending on what year you are, alumni. There are some great networking opportunities, of which you can see 4 in front of you. And so we want to just plug you into what's coming up in the pipeline with networking and using the alumni connections that Whittier College has. Nadine is a graduate of Whittier College, and she's going to be doing our little plug.
Hello everyone, I'm Nadine Barragon, class of 2009. I'm currently on the Whittier Alumni Board, and we have an initiative to kind of help with the networking process for both alumni to network amongst each other, as well as students networking with our alumni. So Laurel's on the board too. There's a couple other people here. You guys are soon, maybe not so soon, but to be part of the alumni community. It's absolutely free. You just have to graduate. You're automatically part of it. So we just want you guys to know that we're here as a networking board committee to be part of something that helps you guys with your future career, but it doesn't have to be your career. It could be experiences, it could be mentoring, it can be different things like that. So let's see, there's a lot to say. So the Whittier Alumni Board initiative is about sharing expertise amongst each other, making new business contacts, which we can tell around this time is very important, creating alumni to student mentorships. So we're in the process of gathering alumni in certain fields to mentor students, providing opportunities to build relationships with others in the field, and gaining referrals so that we can remember to, if there's a job opportunity and someone is a business owner and they were a poet, they're a poet, that they hire poets first. That's what we're going to try to promote, to hire poets first. We want to ensure that people are developing their skills and their strategies, so kind of working off each other. And best of all, we just want you guys to remember that you're proud and loud and a poet. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so you guys have all been warned ahead of time that there are lots of great alumni connections. Backpack-to-Briefcase is just an on-campus version of what you can do both online through LinkedIn, through emailing Anna Gutierrez, who is in the Alumni Relations Department. We're always happy and ready and willing to connect you to alumni who are in fields that you might potentially be interested in, both as current students and as alums. The Backpack-to-Briefcase series was really originated with the idea that current students may or may not be aware of the value of their degree in liberal arts, right? I mean, we all know the economy is really tough right now. Probably more so this has been emphasized in the last few years. And we wanted to give students the perspective of what it's like once you graduate. And so we invite alumni back to give a little testimony about what their career path has taken, what skills that they've gotten from Whittier as an undergraduate, and what has really helped them along the way, to give you a little inside information, a little leg up before you actually hit sort of turning the tassels. So I hope that as you listen to our panelists, you really think about what kinds of questions you might have for them, how their experiences might be similar or different from your own, and then what you can really take away to start, being proactive about your futures now. With that, we're going to have each panelist kind of go down the row and talk a little bit about what in their Whittier College experience as a liberal arts college sort of helped them in their career trajectory, because you might have had multiple positions and titles along the way, and specifically, what about marketing, advertising, new media is sort of changing and developing that you can give insider tips to as students are preparing their own, skill sets and experiences. We're gonna start with with Laurel. And
I sat here.
we actually had, pre-decided. And one of Laurel's favorite memories about Whittier College was just being really involved and very busy on campus, having a job, a boyfriend.
Had the tailspin, didn't know what I wanted to do, took a few years off, and moved to New York City and got a master's in creative writing. Best decision I ever made. New York is a great city. I loved it. I felt, like Christine was saying, I had this kind of feeling from my Whittier years that I could do anything, go anywhere, evolve into anything, and those skills I'd learned here would take me there successfully. And did. It was fantastic. At that point, I thought I wanted to go into editing and publishing, and did for about a year and a half. I worked for a small publishing company, family-run, which I don't recommend unless it's your own family's company. Family-run companies tend to be kind of emotional about business, and so if it's not your own, you're kind of on the outside looking in. I learned some valuable skills. I learned print production, which was fascinating, and had an opportunity through a friend of mine who was a recruiter, definitely get a friend who's a recruiter, to go into advertising. It was a starting position. It was traffic manager. Traffic management does the internal project management at an agency, and it was for Foot Cone and Belding. They're like one of the top 5 in size globally. They have offices in the Ukraine and everywhere else. New York is their headquarter office. And so I kind of learned advertising in that first year and decided I wanted to do copywriting. That obviously would be the natural fit for me with this writing background. I always kept, going back to writing and used my graduate degree. Well, I hated it. Got my book together, got the job as a junior copywriter, hated it. I felt like the account team got to work directly with the clients and really craft the strategies and the thinking behind these projects that were going through the agency. And so I switched sides and I went into account management. It was the best decision for me personally. I still got to write. I got to work with creative directors, management directors, the clients and the marketing side, and it ended up just kind of, my career gained this momentum. I then got a relocation. We were working, at that point I'd moved to Hill Holiday, another agency. It's the largest in Boston, not the largest in New York. I kept getting smaller. I kind of went big to small in my career. They have the national Verizon wireless account, which is big and crazy and really great, and they had inherited the West client. So I was from California, so when they got this client, they offered me this relocation back out west. Well, at that point, my spouse and I were considering having children, and I didn't want to have kids 3,000 miles away from my parents. So we took the relocation, and it was something I never could have imagined how great it all worked out. We had my daughter. I stayed with Hill Holiday until I had my daughter. Then went out on maternity leave, ended up going to work for a small digital agency, which brings us to how media and digital media is changing advertising as an industry. No one reads the newspaper anymore. I mean, we all read a newspaper here and there, but you don't sit and read the Verizon wireless ad, but you might go to Verizon Insider or go to see one of their banners. Advertising has totally changed with online media. Social media changes every second. Like what we did a month ago is different than what we're doing today. And so I started working there and running their blog. Back to writing again. I'm now writing for their blog and am able to stay home with my daughter while I run their blog using my writing and all of my marketing skills. I've kind of, ridden the light of this fun career. Advertising is such a fun industry. It's young, it's hip. I'm old for advertising. It's fun though, and I'm finding that it keeps me up with social media in ways that friends of mine who aren't in the industry aren't. They're not keeping up with social media, and that digital connection is something that's a part of the future. And so it's really kind of a way of keeping current with modern technology. So technology has just really kind of changed the ease of life, and that's just fantastic. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. You had other questions though.
Well,
of posing.
Well, so I think you hit on a lot of them, and maybe you'll want to jump in later on as we continue down, because I'm sure some of you will have the same ideas in different formats, but new ideas that you'll say, oh yes, I also want to chime in and say exactly that. So we'll sort of move down the line to Susan. And Susan has a lot of great memories about Whittier College. You'll have to take her out for drinks though if you want the full story. So you have to be 21 in order to do that.
I have the same problem.
It's so embarrassing. It's just horrible.
But she was very involved. You know, was a Whittier Scholars also. Loved the Whittier Scholars classes. What are human beings and what is reality? Which no, they've changed out names of those classes.
What are human beings?
Yeah,
That was a great course.
And she's also was president of the Saxon Society.
Do you
for
still have
any
that?
Saxons in the room? No. Yeah. The society is still active on campus.
That scares me.
But
Okay.
you know, Susan might have some similar insights because you also went through some transitions in your
Yes.
career, and so maybe if you talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I am so nervous. I speak in front of 300 people at my company all the time, and I'm in front of you guys, and I'm so nervous. It's so funny to me. Anyway, I thought I was going to be a writer too, and I'm 50, so I graduated a really long time ago, and I'm probably the oldest person here. And when I graduated, I thought I was going to be a writer also. And I went to the Whittier Daily News, and they told me that they paid their writers $10,000 a year. And I decided not to go to graduate school because I thought, wow, I can't really do that. That's not going to cut it. So I went and got a job in advertising in traffic. So thank you for doing my whole story. It's great because I know we know a lot of people in common too. So I went to work in traffic, which is sort of, you get to know every department in an agency. You're a coordinator, and you're coordinating all the projects, so you learn everything. I looked for where were the jobs in Adweek. There's a lot of agencies that I have names of that I will give to you guys later. Creative Circle, Aquint, Vitamin T, 24/7, I'm giving them now, but there's a lot of agencies that specialize just in advertising. So I'd highly recommend that you get hooked up with them and you know who they are in order to find out, you know, where the jobs are. When I started, it was so long ago that there were a lot more jobs, and it was a lot easier really to get started. And I actually did the exact same thing that you did, was turned into account management because I realized that writing was not all it was cracked up to be.
Writing for the client it is, right?
Well,
Don't they
of
do a
course
lot
it
of
is, but they tell you what, I don't know if any of you have read Steve Jobs' book, and if you haven't, you all should. But even Lee Clow, who is the master creative director of all time, you know, Steve Jobs was telling him what he wanted him to do, and of course they were all Lee Clow's ideas. They were really not Steve Jobs' ideas. They were his. And he was fabulous, but he had to convince Steve to do those things. So even if you're a great writer, you still have to talk your client into it. So it's not fun. It's not what we thought fun was going to be. You know, account management, you can learn a whole lot more. In my opinion, same as you. You know, and also I got business skills that way because really and truly, I didn't get a lot of skills at Whittier. I was a political science major, English minor. I thought I was going to be a writer, and I wasn't. So Freddie's going to tell you about his career. You know, he had to go back to school. There's a lot of online courses you can take. Lynda, LYNDA.com. Great websites. $40 a month. You can join for a month, and you can learn everything. I mean, you can learn InDesign, which is the program that most agencies do their graphic work in. Quark still, but not so much anymore. Most agencies are all InDesign now. Everything is Adobe, everything. And Lynda's got a lot of courses that you can take that it's just people like us telling you about how to, you know, step by step work all these programs. So if you don't have that experience and you want to get it, you can go and, you know, you don't really have to go back to school per se, because if you're smart and you're willing to learn, you can, you know, go and do that. My career took a really different turn. I went from advertising to Disney, and I was there for 7 years. I loved Disney. We changed presidents of my division while I worked there, and then it was sort of time for me to move on, which I realized they were sort of changing the way that they did business, which was upsetting to me. It was a guy from Nike who came to work there. and it was all about profit. It was just, we want to make more money, and it wasn't about the brand so much, and it was like the world's greatest brand, I thought, and I still do actually. And so I was very upset about that. So I ended up leaving, and I took a right turn that was a bad turn to a home developer, KB Home, and anyway, that was a bad turn, and then it came time for me to find a new job, and what was out there was medical jobs, and I knew nothing about medical. So I learned at that point that it was, you had to really look and see where are the jobs, not just, oh, I want to do this, where are the jobs? So, you know, look on Craigslist, look on Monster, see who's hiring, know what industries are hiring, because I work at a medical device company today, and I'm the director of marketing communications. So every company has got a marketing communications department. Every company has got like an in-house ad agency, or they go outside to an agency, but they have a team that works with Freddie. Mm-hmm. So there are every single field has this. So, you know, if you look and you see where the jobs are, that's how you can kind of discover what it is where you want to go. So I realized I had no experience in medical, and I went back, took about 10 steps back, and went to work at a company called Amgen, a little biotech company out in the valley, and I took a huge pay cut and learned. And really, I mean, it's never too late to learn something new, and I really, that's the other thing is you always have an opportunity to learn more. I mean, I learn more every single day at my job, every day. And the willingness to learn and not think you know everything. I'm 50, there's so much I don't know, I can't even tell you. The older I get, the more I realize how little I know. So I take every opportunity to learn more and grow. And the only other thing I want to say, because I could talk for hours because I have a really long career and I'm the oldest in the room, so is that when I hire someone, one of the first things that I do is I go and I look on their Facebook page, and I go to LinkedIn, and I go to Google, and I look them up. And if you have pictures of you doing what I did when I was at Whittier College, I wouldn't hire you. So I just want to say that as a cautionary tale, that when I was, you know, we didn't even have computers when I was at Whittier College. I typed my senior project 40 times. I'm not kidding you, it was unbelievable. Yeah. And nowadays, what you do sticks, and people are going to look and they're going to know. So. And
that's across, just to
that's a general statement.
Like everyone's doing that. Like, don't
everyone
have
does that.
You know.
Exactly. And
if you,
honest to God,
yeah.
If you look me up online, there was something in the New York Post, and it still says it, and I wish I could take that little thing back. So, you know, it's, thank God I've worked at my company for 10 years, and they didn't fire me over that. But anyway, so you have to really be careful. That's the only other cautionary advice from the old person in the room that I will give.
Good advice.
Okay, it's good advice.
So, since you kind of made reference to Freddie and his position, I guess we can transition quite smoothly.
She works down across the street from me, but I've never met her before.
We've never met, but we work across the street, which is so random.
Yeah, it is.
And so one of Freddie's best memories, and Freddie and I were in college at the same time together, so I can say this in all honesty, right?
Right.
Is one of the things that was most memorable is he had a friend who didn't have a car. Familiar story, right, for students at Whittier. And Cheryl Swift, the biology faculty member here on campus, actually lent her car to his friend so that she could, you know, have transportation over the summer.
Best idea ever.
And of course, Freddie benefited from that.
Got a car.
Yeah, that car.
I thought you were going to say you totaled it.
No. Worst idea ever.
Are you still driving that?
Set it on fire.
No, I'm not. I had to give it up after freshman year. But yeah, my name's Freddie. Susan actually kind of hit home on a lot of points. You know, I started at Whittier as a biology major, and then I switched to physics, and then I switched to business, and then I minored with philosophy, and I may have dabbled in Spanish a little bit. But it was like I did a lot of things, and I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I first got to college, and like, you wanted to be a lawyer, but you changed that idea like right after you graduated, and that's what happens, you change a lot, and like, as you get older, your ideas change and your interests change, so you kind of have to keep up. You know, if you like something, just go at it. You know, and don't be afraid to do a lot of things, a lot of different things, even after graduation. A lot of people get stuck in a career like a 9 to 5. They work all day, they kill themselves, and then they go to a bar afterwards and just get drunk. You know, and that's a common story that I know a lot of my friends still do, but they haven't done anything different after that. You know, they're still just going out and drinking. Let me see what else.
What do you do?
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I'm here to do. Oh, so I started out at American Apparel, and I got into a great position there, luckily because someone had just quit right before I got there, and it was a wholesale marketing manager position. And it was great. I got to travel pretty much the world for 3 years, and I did all their trade shows. We did about 40 trade shows a year, and we did hundreds of advertisements, both digital and print. Met a lot of people along the way. And it was a full-time career. I lost a lot of friends, by traveling. Since it was 9 months, all my friends stopped calling me. And so I kind of quit, I didn't want to do that anymore. And I worked at an entertainment company, which called Entertainment Partners. And it was like, if any of you guys know American Apparel, it's like pretty radical, pretty liberal too. And then I went to a corporate company, and it was like cubicles. I had to write like once a week like what I was doing, and send it to some guy who was reading it or not reading it. It was like, what am I wasting my, and after, I was told I was overzealous at one point, and I was like, okay.
You never want to stay somewhere where someone tells you you're your energy should be something they want.
Exactly.
Right?
So after 2 years, I kind of just quit. And I started this company called Beatnik Records, which I didn't really know at the time what was going to be, and it turned out to be nothing. But I was going to partner up with some indie record labels, and I knew a couple of people in the industry, so I was like, okay, let's form something. So in that time, I kind of I went on Lynda actually, and I taught myself how to code, like computer programming, PHP, WordPress, and because we needed a website, So I was like, well, we need a website. I don't want to pay someone to do this. So in that process, I actually got picked up by this, Eat, Sleep, Work, which the ad agency I'm at now, to do computer programming, front-end web development for them, and somewhat graphic design work. And again, I also took classes while at Entertainment Partners, at night classes at the Art Center in Pasadena to, in graphic design, in typeface, in HTML, like entry level, entry computer programming stuff. But I guess, what I want to drill home is, it's like I worked like 14 hours a day, like it was nonstop, morning till night, it's not fun, and I can't imagine it's going to get any better. Competition's getting pretty stiff out there. My job can be outsourced to like India and China in like a heartbeat, like, yeah. It's someone in India and China can do what I do for $6 an hour, not even. So it's competitive. You have to constantly retrain yourself, new things, keep learning and learning, as Susan and Laurel said, and it's a nonstop grind, so good luck out there.
To that point though, it's important to love what you do.
Yeah, but exactly,
because you're going to be there, these people you work with, you're going to be with them all the time. They become like your family. If you're going to get a beer with someone, it's probably not your best friend from college. It's the person in the cubicle next to you that just worked 12 hours and is exhausted too, so it's important to really love what you do.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's another, I mean, it's, if you don't like what you're doing, don't do it, because it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Just, and the money will come. Don't worry about the money, just keep going out and just doing what you love to do, and, the rewards will come afterwards.
You can't be old and rich if you were never young and poor, right?
Right. I get that.
Go with your theory.
That's it.
Swim in the golf team. So I'm assuming there's more, again, to the story.
Yeah, I'm with her a little bit. My memories I can't say on there.
That's why I asked about the sex.
Yeah.
But he is very jealous of the new student center and the new swimming pool that all of you current poets get to enjoy. So please take advantage. But Wes, why don't you tell us a little bit about your path?
Okay. Well, I can't tell you anything about how to get a job. I've never really worked for anyone ever. So unlike them, you're not going to hear any of that from me. Basically, my first kind of like job, I guess quote unquote, was I started buying and selling golf clubs on eBay. And yeah, I did. And I was able to like exploit the market where I could find price points and price gaps between every single product that was out there. And I did really good at it, actually. I made a lot of money in college doing that. And I started a website where I'd sell golf clubs and everything that was sourced through eBay. So I would house no inventory. So essentially what I would do is I would post every single club I could possibly find on a website, on my site, and then if someone bought something, I would find it on eBay and buy it and then have them ship it to everybody from on my website. So I never touch inventory at all. So I did that. I made a lot of money in my first 2 years. I wasn't really social my first 2 years of college, but I made a lot of money. And so I decided that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and be a student and enjoy my time at Whittier. And I did. And so I didn't really work the last 2 years of college because I wanted to have a good time. And I enjoyed myself. And so I came out after college. I graduated in 2007, super cocky, assumed that I could make $100,000 my first year because I'd done really good. I had no reason to think otherwise. And so I partnered up with a friend of mine who was a web developer. And I figured that, well, I know how to market online. I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to do the marketing and he's going to do all the coding and web design and everything like that. And it went okay for a little bit until we split up like our partnership. And then I kind of had to learn everything, like they're saying, like through stuff like lynda.com and everything. And I didn't know what I was doing at all. I mean, fake it till you make it. I was faking it and I was not making it. I mean, I think that I probably made a solid $1 an hour on a bunch of projects when I first started, just because I had no idea what I was doing. But I slowly got better and slowly got better at, I was basically just doing websites, portfolio type websites for people. And then I started doing getting into outsourcing more. So I was able to make a lot more money doing that, like they were saying. And I just started getting better and better and better at it. And got to a point where I'm able to make decent money doing it until I've kind of found my new niche now, which is I build web-based software for companies and for myself for the most part, and then I sell it. So the main market that I'm working with right now is high school sports. I don't know if anyone's familiar with CIF, who runs high school sports. They hired me to build their entire communication portal. So how they communicate with all 600 of their schools. And so I'm building that right now. And then I built a piece of software for them before that was very successful, that managed all their ticket selling and everything like that. And all the athletic directors have wanted me to take over and try to build something else, scheduling software that they can use for all their school facilities and all their school events, etc. And so right now I'm currently working on that, which is good too because I have a ton of support with it. Everyone's probably going to buy it as soon as I'm done with it because I just have a lot of support. And I have a different business model now, whereas instead of being hired by companies to do something, if somebody has an idea for something or if they approach me to do a project or something, then rather than go through all the bureaucracy of paperwork of having to get it done and everything like that, I just do everything for free now. So you think that you wouldn't make any money, but I actually make a lot more money when you just do stuff for free. So for example, if someone comes to me and they say, hey, I want to figure out how I can manage all of my inventory from A to B to C to D and communicate with everyone together. If it's a good idea and it's a good product, then I'll just do it for free, and I just won't, all the development costs and everything like that, I'll just do 100%, because that way I can own the software myself and I can resell it as many times as I like, and I usually will get the product done way faster, at least double, twice as fast, because of the bureaucracy and everything that, as long as it takes, get hired with these big companies to do things. So, but you need to have a little bit of money to do that, and so I had to work up to that point to do so. And I do a ton of outsourcing. I have a couple people I work with here, but for the most part, I have a lot of people in India and Pakistan that work for me as well. So I spend a lot of nights up till 3, 4 in the morning, just doing stuff. And but I really like what I do. You know, Sunday comes, Sunday afternoon comes, and I'm not dreading going to work tomorrow. Lots of times on the weekends I get bored, and so I'll just go ahead and start working on a project that I'm excited about. You know, that's the way I am. I don't really consider it a job. You know, if I had millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, I'd probably still be doing this, just because I like it. It's fun. You know, I like building stuff that people use. It's cool. So that's what I got. Oh, and the one thing that I would say to do, if you are starting your own company, make sure you track your time diligently when you first start out, because I mean, now I track every single minute that I work on every single project, and I know exactly how much money I'm making per hour to the cent. And I didn't know that stuff then. I didn't know, and that way you can, you know, I learned that I wasn't charging anything, you know? And don't be, and if you're good at what you do, don't be scared to sell yourself short. I certainly don't anymore. Because there's a lot of projects I don't want to do, and I just throw huge numbers at them. And lots of times they'll give it to me, so it's cool. So that's what I got.
Great. Well, so I have some questions for the panelists. I hope that as I'm stalling for time, that you students will think of your own set of questions to ask our panelists. You know, maybe more related to what you're interested in or the industries that you're thinking about going into. One of the things I heard, well, first, Les, since you're the last one to talk.
Okay.
You mentioned very briefly that you had a lot of contacts. Can you tell us a little bit about networking and how you're leveraging your contacts to really seed for the future?
As far as like people that work with me, or
well, you had
clients?
mentioned the scheduling software for athletics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, my contacts for that have been just doing a good job, you know, and I built something that saves so much time for people. I mean, it saved months of work. And so I got a huge uproar from all these athletic directors, you know, that are associated with that. And so I just stayed in communication with them, you know, and when they spit an idea out, oh, well, wouldn't it be great if we did that tongue in cheek? Then I'd say, sure, okay, I'll do it. Why not? And so then I produce stuff, send it to them, ask them what they're, you know, and then it just, that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get the CIF connection initially?
Okay, this is a good story. My brother works for CIF, so that helped a lot.
There you go.
That helped a lot. They actually hired another company to do what I'm doing now, like 4 years ago, and they failed horribly. And so my brother got so annoyed with it, and he kind of said to me, he said, well, he's like, can we just do this section for me first so it can help my job? And so I just kind of jumped on and did it, and then you know, they paid me after the fact. And it ended up being good, and so then they just hired me to do everything, which was a much larger contract.
Yeah. I bring that up only because you literally never know where a connection is going to come from.
Yeah,
so be open to any of them. And it sounds kind of funny because you're like, oh, whatever, you know, maybe your friends are going out for cocktails or they're going to some event. You're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. Go. You're going to meet people. You're going to have some connection. You're going to shake hands with someone that's going to give you an opportunity. They might be looking for you. You're not even looking for them. Those are the best connections.
Definitely. So another thing that was sort of a repeat theme for a lot of you was sort of the need to be up on your skills, and you know, as a function of that, taking courses. You know, do you feel like there were some seeds that you learned here at Whittier that helped you in those courses in the future that sort of made you more malleable or flexible or just pick things up easier?
You learn how to learn.
That's what I was going to say,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, just the mere fact of finishing college. You went to school for 4 years and you graduate. It's that it's how you learn how to do it.
I think both Susan and Freddie touched on how you have to take a bunch of different classes, whether they're, you know, something you are honing in on as your major or really specifying as something you're interested in. You have to take them, and it makes you think in different ways, and that's a very translatable skill later on.
Definitely. And then, you know, I think one of the things that all of you mentioned was sort of the competition in the field and really the breakneck pace that this industry is in, and how you just need to adjust. Can you guys address that a little bit more? You know, especially by the time these students are getting ready to graduate, it's going to be a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now. Do we have any idea what the field's going to look like? How can they sort of keep these words in mind as they move forward?
I can just say in my field, the biggest thing, I mean, we it sounds like we kind of do similar stuff a little bit. But the thing is, with my field is, it's all about niches, really. You know, if you can find the right niche to kind of get in, you know, to get your kind of software moving or something like that, if you can find that niche, I mean, I heard someone say the riches is in the niches. I think it's right. I mean, I think that I found mine with the high school sports, and so, I mean, that's the way to kind of get in and eliminate competition a little bit more. But I mean, competition's good though. You know, I mean, if you go into a market where there's no competition, you might want to question it, because if there's no competition, there might be no market for it.
Right. That's a good point.
So.
Mine is responsiveness. I mean, I'm on my iPhone, my iPad, constantly.
Yeah.
My headquarters is in Germany. I'm constantly. I mean, I'll wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and check my iPads. So I don't recommend doing that, but you know, you have to be responsive to people, and you have to be available to people.
Yeah,
24/7. It really is, and you know, the world we live in is 24/7.
Yeah, and people complain about that, like, you know, older generation, you know, I know my dad said, well, what about 20 years ago when you couldn't get, but that's just the way it is now.
Well,
and I mean, I write people off when I don't get replies to things. That's like a huge pet, you know. And if someone doesn't get back to me right away, or I don't get the kind of feedback that I want from someone, then I move on.
Right, because somebody else will.
Yeah.
Right.
Being connected is so important, but it's also easier now.
Right.
You have all of these different methods of connecting. If you have a smartphone, you have everything on your phone, every email, every text, every tweet, every like, every whatever it is right there. And so checking that and being connected to that and available is actually easier. Think if it were sitting at home next to your landline, you know, it might be kind of harder, but now you can be anywhere.
And if you're going for like an interview or something, you know, like Susan said, like she Googles everyone and she can, you know, bring up their whole life story. And if, you know, you're going for an interview, you know, find out who you're interviewing with. You know, obviously they're going to be like, oh, when you come to the office, meet with so-and-so. Find out, you know, Google their name, get all the information about them, and then you can find some sort of connection within the interview process, you know, and they're like, oh, you know about that? And you could just, you know, BS a little bit, but like, that's a way to get your foot in the door. You know, you may have some sort of like, you know, connection with that person that they may now hire you because you mentioned it, brought it up.
We're sitting here, he works at an ad agency across the street from me. He could get work for me.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I'm trying
We know
to kiss
people
her
that
ass.
worked at Holiday at the same time. So I mean, LinkedIn, tomorrow, you know, seriously.
LinkedIn is
but,
like,
yeah, I have everybody.
Yeah, I know, it's true.
Do you do LinkedIn too? Do you use that?
I did at the start, but I don't now as
How
much.
do you connect to people?
I do a lot of my own projects now.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not looking for jobs very much.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I kind of like, I'm just building products that are kind of, I'm just gonna try to go national with it. So I mean, I don't really need to like get out and do that. But I have done a lot of that. I mean, these three are probably way better networkers than I am. I'm not great. But I think the best book that I read for like networking, it would be Win Friends and Influence People.
Carty.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that was good because you really, I mean, I learned a lot about human nature kind of through it. And you can really tap into it, and that would certainly help. Something that he said about interview, about finding what someone else is interested in. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff with that. I don't know if they should make that like part of business and society.
Yeah.
It should be. It's a really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just continuing with that, when you go on an interview, they're interviewing you, but you're not just under a microscope.
No, you can ask them questions
You
too.
can ask them questions. You're going to be an asset to their company, just like they are to you, and you want to ask them questions, and they're going to be blown away because people sit there nervous and
When
sweaty.
people don't ask me a question, I always say at the end of an interview, do you have any questions for me? If somebody says no, I've never hired a person that said no. Never in my life.
And then it's like, you know, if you don't know a lot about the company, I mean, you should, but you can get a lot of information from that person that you're interviewing with about the culture of the company. And if it's something that you can't connect with, don't take the job, and just be honest with them. You know, like, well, I really don't see myself working in this kind of setting. You know, I work better in this type of setting, and you can explain that to them, and they'll totally understand it. It's actually, they want you to do that. You know. They'll ask you, what kind of setting do you work best in? You know, do you like a small space? Do you like a loud space? You know, can you work in a cubicle? It's, you know, that is really important to your, you know, your daily routine, because you're going to be there 40 hours a week, or if not more, you know, so it's very important.
And with LinkedIn, you might be looking for companies through LinkedIn, but they might be looking for you.
Right.
My spouse just got an awesome job. They found him. I mean, he'd been looking and not really loving what he was finding, and companies that didn't have the integrity he was wanting, and this great company found him, and he just started a month ago and is so happy. It's like, well, you never really think of that. You think of it as a tool, you know, you're pushing yourself out there, but they're pulling you also.
Oh,
So
I
it
get
goes both
calls
ways.
once a week from that.
Yeah.
Seriously, because of LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
really, it's also growing. I mean, it's only been really prolific, I think, in the last couple of years, and so it's really catching on.
Yeah, it's doing really well.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, all this, I mean, no matter what major you do, what you do, if it's in, you know, media, but you have to market yourself and brand yourself out there to everyone, because, you know, they won't know who you are, what type of person you are.
You're working like 24/7, so how do you balance that?
Becomes your life. It becomes your life. Yeah.
But what if you're like married and stuff though? I mean, I know you have a daughter and you're married, so how do you find time for everything?
I sleep less and I work out less than I like to. What's the saying? Sleep when you're dead?
Yeah.
It's just, you get to a point where you can balance it all. And it can be a challenge. It's definitely something that's harder for me now with a child, when it's just Matt and me. We're both, you know, corporate kids. We're busy. We're working crazy hours. We're doing email. We're traveling. Whatever. That's kind of fun because we were both doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
I think if I were with a, you know, teacher that came home at 4:30 every day and was like, let's make dinner and sit on the patio, that would never work. Like, it works because we're both kind of in that same experience. But with a daughter, she was a game changer. They don't care about your email, about your project, about your site that just crashed, about the client, like, they don't care. So you just kind of have to shift and reprioritize. And I remember when I first started in advertising, I was kind of begrudging of people who would leave at 6. What do you mean you're leaving at 6? What do you mean you're getting on the train to Connecticut to go home to your family? I'm going to be here until 10:30 or 3 a.m. or whatever. So you kind of do pay some dues earlier on that let you go home to your child later on. I mean, that's just
You have to
life.
strike a balance. You have to do that consciously, you know. And there are a lot of companies that want you to have a balance, and that's one of the company's core values. My company that I work for now, it says one of our core values is work-life balance. So, you know, but you have to consciously make that choice.
I don't know if I could say anything about it, but I mean, I think that if you really enjoy it, then it's not an issue. Yeah. Like, I don't think about how many hours I work, like, ever, you know. I don't think about, you know, anything. You know, if I went home today and, like, I forgot to do something, so I spent an hour just doing something right before I came here. But I don't care. Like, I don't think that's work. It's something I need to do, and I don't mind it. So, if you like it, it doesn't bother me.
And with mobile communication, you can kind of be anywhere. When I first took the relocation out here, I was meeting up with my old group of girlfriends, had a glass of wine in my hand, and my client called. Well, I can take that call. I'm not sitting at home missing the call and the client's upset. I had the 10-minute conversation, building that relationship, and went back to my friends. And it kind of was a new bridge that wasn't there previously for our parents' generations, which is good.
Would you say, for all of you in general, I guess, that the majority of like where you are now or even deals that you've done are through either like your experiences in the past and your knowledge, or more through like networking and your social capabilities?
But, yeah,
And it kind of builds.
yeah, exactly.
I'd say more for me, with my past, what I've done, for sure. I don't like networking at all. I don't like, I was a member of like the Chamber of Commerce and stuff for a while. I did seminars, I was all like, I hated it. I honestly did. You know, I don't like sales, I don't like doing any of that. So I like just doing a good job, being accessible. And, you know, I've gotten lucky though, you know.
That's fun.
Both.
Yeah, it is. Well, because once you've worked for a while, then, you know
Yeah,
people from work, and then it becomes both social and work. But, you know, at the beginning, it is who you know. It really is. So that's why even Facebook, just through friends of friends of friends, knows someone who knows someone. That I see on LinkedIn, it's 3 people away, and I look and I'm like, oh, okay, I know this person from Facebook, and I'm going to write to them and ask them. So it's fun.
Mine kind of goes off that. How do you, so I know like when I'm applying for jobs or anything really, they ask about previous experience, and if you don't have any, it's really hard to like break into something new. So how do you, because I'm really interested in advertising, so how would I break into that if I don't have experience with it?
Internships.
Mostly internships.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, like at Whittier, not to, you know, like bash on them, but like, I would really like them to have some sort of like co-op system where, you know, one of my friends, it took him 5 years to graduate, but every other semester he had to have a job, and the school found him a career in what he was studying at the time. His was accounting, so he took odd jobs as an accountant, and when he graduated, he had a year of experience already. And so it was really easy for him to actually even put the theory to practice, because when you're here, you know, you're only like reading a textbook, and you have no idea really what that is when you put it to practice, or you get into like, you know, a business setting, and it changes, it's completely different actually. So, I mean, internships over the summer, they do Jan term still, right? You know, I mean, they should have a business class over Jan term, where they work with some business in Whittier, and they can get credits for it, you know?
Is there any kind of electronic newsletter or anything? Like there was a newspaper when I was here, but it's so long ago.
That's
So
still
We have the newspaper still.
Really?
Yeah,
You could do layout for that. I worked on the paper. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, that was real experience. You know, you're actually doing layouts.
That's good.
I mean, if you want to do an internship at an ad agency, there are a couple ways you can go about it. You can contact their HR department.
Right.
Hi, I'm a Whittier College student. I have no experience and I want to get some. They're going to be open to that. I mean, you don't want to fabricate, you know, made up experience. You're graduated from college. You've had a couple of jobs. They don't expect you to have 10 years of knowledge and be the VP of anything,
If you send
you know?
free labor, there's many
But
It is
and
big.
that, yeah, even
It
if you have
is.
to work nights and
It's
bartend or work
Yeah.
retail on the weekends, whatever you have to do to swing it, do it. I didn't suck it up and do internships, and I sometimes wish I would have, because you'll make connections, and at the end of the summer there'll probably be some job
There'll be some
somewhere, and it might not be the exact one you want in the
Yeah.
agency, but it'll get you in, and then
Yeah,
you're
someone
in,
knows
then you're in.
someone, you know, and that's probably like 3% of getting a job is knowing someone. Yeah, maybe even more these days.
You can also contact me. I'm the assistant director for internships. So that's very nice to live with them right now. Any other questions?
Yeah, you mentioned the cardinal sin of not asking any questions in an interview. Just any general advice for young kids that may not think of stuff like that, like just coming out trying to get a job. Like I've actually heard 2 people that are established that hate not getting questions in interviews. Like if you guys have any general advice for kids that necessarily wouldn't think of it, just coming out like new in the market, like she's saying, trying to get your foot in the door. Anything else?
Well, if you go online, for example, my company, and you look at the website, our website sucks. It's done out of German. It's a really bad website, and you know you can find out some stuff about the company, but you're not going to find out everything. So read everything that you can, and then there's going to be something that's missing. There's going to be something that you don't know. How many employees? You know, how big is the department? Are there offices? If you're meeting in a conference room somewhere, you're not going to know if there's an office space or cubicles. You don't know that. How many weeks vacation? I mean, any question, anything about the company, about the job, about
make yourself interested in it, you know, like.
In their culture, about the culture, about.
And I guess don't be afraid to go to companies that you really do like, you know, you have an interest in, you know, I mean, I don't know what you like, but if you love like Disney or something like that, and you're applying to Disney, like, you can really show your passion, like, across that table or that desk, you know, that I really love this place, and these are the reasons.
Releasing Lion King again on your screen, and
exactly,
anything, you know, you love it. Yeah.
And that's it, and you can reach out to those companies just, you know, in an email too. They don't necessarily have to be hiring for that job that you know, you're going for, but you just, it's just like a part of the networking game, and it's a part of just like reaching out, and maybe down the road you meet someone that knew someone that worked there or what have you, and you can reach out again, and then you got your foot in the door.
But like you're saying, do the research. Any research is better than none. If you just walk in, I want a job. Well, why do you want the job? I don't know. Because I want a job.
What's
You
interesting
know,
about this
just
company?
any little anything will create that engagement with them. If you, sometimes you go in and you don't know who you're going to interview with, but if you can know who that is and you have a leg up because you can research them the way they are
Researching
probably
you.
researching
Yeah.
you. And I know you guys do other seminars on interviewing skills, but always send a thank you note.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Go following up.
I
with
say
that.
go old school
Yeah.
with the written note. I
Oh,
think
wow.
it adds a little
Extra
boost,
little
but the
touch.
email is always appreciated.
And you can always ask a question in the email. I've had people do that too.
Yeah.
When they write me to say thank you, they'll ask another question to keep the door open. I always respond.
Sure.
If they ask a question, always
That's
respond.
great.
And then it's a really good tactic. And then you have another point of communication. Evelyn?
Along with the questions, would you say there's such thing as like a too ambitious question almost? Like, Susan, let's say I was looking at your website and I noticed how bad it was.
Right.
Could I question like who is building your website?
Yes, and you know why that could be bad? It could be me. So that could be bad, because under normal circumstances, it would be the director of marketing communication is doing the website. So if you say, you know, I really think your website sucks, you could say, I think, you know,
Reword it in a
I was
sense where
looking at your
who-
website and I think you could improve it perhaps if you did this. Have you ever considered that?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Or even just ask who uses
Or ask
your
who
website
you use to
or who
design it.
builds
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's perfectly okay.
Okay, this one kind of diverts from the interviews, but it seems like all of you were able to adapt and self-taught yourselves many things. Was there, what was going on through your mind, or what were you thinking about when you were transitioning from job to job or learning something new? Like what were you feeling like studying
I was
something?
scared out of my mind when I went from
Yeah.
entertainment to medical. I was scared out of my mind. I would never, ever make the kind of money I made at Disney. I was really afraid, and I am doing double what I did then. And you know, you have to be bold and be able to make change and learn new things. That's what you keep saying.
Yeah, and it's like also like a little drive of like interest in that
That's
one thing. Like if what you're thinking is like, well, I really want to be a photographer or something like that, you know, and it's like, well, you know, you start doing it as like an activity after work, and then you know, you just kind of keep going it. Maybe you just take that leap of faith one day, and you're like, I'm gonna do it 100% now. Like this is gonna be a full-blown career for me, regardless if I have any previous experience in this or not. I'm just gonna do it, and I'm gonna own it. Kind of it.
You take a leap of faith.
Yeah, it's hard, you know,
really
it's
hard.
really
And
difficult.
be scared,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're going to be. So
Right.
just, you channel that energy into a positive.
That's true.
Yeah. I remember the summer after I finished my master's, nothing happened. Business does not happen in the summer in New York City. People are off on Fridays, summer Fridays, right? And they're off in the Hamptons or the Jersey Shore. Hopefully it's the Hamptons, but whatever. I sent out 120 resumes, and this was just, you know, this was 1999. It was at a time when, you know, the internet was up and happening and people were using it. I was sending them out electronically, but I was also sending out hard copies. I didn't get a phone call until September. I was like, wow, I'm unemployable. I've got this fancy master's degree I can't do anything with. Awesome. How much money have I spent on my education? But then it all played out, and, you know, one thing led to another. But it was pretty frustrating. There were tears, I'm not gonna lie. But you get through
Question
it.
behind.
Yeah, on top of what she said, how important is to get a master's degree or go to grad school? Or you, no, you like in general.
For me, it didn't necessarily make or break the career path I took. It was a personal achievement I wanted. For some industries, it matters. You know, sometimes you have to have an MBA, or you have to be a CPA, or you have to have certain degrees, obviously law and medicine. But for advertising and marketing, it's not make or break unless you really go into the client side marketing. Yeah,
My
sometimes.
company, yes.
Yeah, MBA. Agency side, it's hit and miss. It just depends. Your experience, I think, overrides that at some point.
Agency, not so much, right?
Yeah.
I think it's agency, not as much, but companies, we have
Yeah.
a lot of MBAs in our
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah, I think all my Verizon clients had their MBA.
Yeah.
So it just depends which side
Depends
you
what
want to
you're
go
doing,
into.
yeah.
I don't care what anyone's education is. I don't. But I'm not really hiring people from the country, so. Don't throw stones at me.
Fire poets first. What did they tell us?
That's right.
All right, well, why don't we thank our panelists? Some of you might have some additional questions, or you want to take some time to network individually with the alums we have here. If they can stay, we'd love for you guys to stay, but if you've got other things, or kids, or dinner engagement, or whatever, we of course understand. And thank you so much for your time. Are we doing our little...
Yes, we're doing a quick thank you. Is this thing on?